Welcome to the Pikes Peak Library District's Law Collections tutorial video on using Westlaw case law research. In this video, we will cover how to do case law research within the legal research database, Westlaw. We'll look at how to run a search, browse cases, and we will also go over with the topics and key number system. So there are a few different ways to research case law within Westlaw. Let's start first by examining what are known as topic and key numbers. So I'm going to go here in the browse area under content types and then click on the link for topics and key numbers. The West key number system is essentially an index of case law. So it's a great way to find cases by a specific topic. You can always use this search bar to search for the topic you're interested in, and it will search through these terms below. You can also browse through the list. When you hover over an item in the list, you will see this eye in a little circle appear. If you click on that, it'll give you more information about what subjects are included in that term and what subjects are not included and would be covered under other terms. So they'll always give you a C note for anything that is not covered in this particular part of the key number index. Let's go ahead and click into one of these terms. Then when you get into one of the terms, you will see that it is subdivided into even more specific areas of that particular topic area. And so you can then click in again. And now what I'm looking at are all of the cases in the federal jurisdiction that are under this specific term, constitutional and statutory provisions under payment. And you can kind of see how the whole hierarchy works here. And these numbers after each term will let you know how many cases are indexed using that specific heading. Right now, the jurisdiction is set to all federal, but you can always change that by clicking here. And then let's say I'm interested in this for a particular state. So I would uncheck all federal, click the state I'm interested in, and then go ahead and hit apply. It will refresh, and there actually aren't any cases in the Colorado jurisdiction under this very specific heading. So that's one way to find cases, is just through the key number index. I'm going to go back to the home page. There's another way to browse for cases as well. So you'll see here under content type, we have cases. I can go ahead and select that. And then it will have all of the different jurisdictions. And so you have your federal resources here at top. And then if you scroll down, you could also browse by state. So let's just go ahead and go into Colorado. And then here you have, again, the federal cases that are in the Colorado district. And then you can also look at the Colorado state cases. And so we have our Colorado Supreme Court cases and our Colorado Court of Appeals. Let me go back to the home page. I want to talk a little bit about what is different here. We have cases which make up what is known as case law. These are cases that happen at the appeals level or the Supreme Court level. These are cases that set what are known as legal precedent. So that means that judges have to look at those cases when formulating their opinions. So those decisions are binding to a broader section than just what happens at the district court level. So if you're interested in courts that happen at the initial trial level or the district court level, those you can find in trial court orders. So let's take a look at what that looks like. And then again, you would choose that by jurisdiction. And so we would go into Colorado, and it looks a little bit different. It's bringing up civil court orders here, and it just has the first most 10 recent, but you can then search within this. Or if you're interested in criminal trial court orders, you can click on that link over here and look at those documents as well. These district court orders, these are only binding to the parties at hand. So they don't set legal precedent. So judges don't have to follow these decisions when producing their opinions. But sometimes people still want to look at these cases that are only binding to these specific parties. I'm going to go back home again. So I'm always, to do that, just click on the logo. Then there are a few other resources in here that still might also be useful for you as well. You can access briefs here. So if you're interested in trying to find a brief, again, it looks very similar to what we just looked at in trial court orders. So you could, again, go into your jurisdiction. It's going to bring up the 10 most recent, or you can always search here as well. Going back home one more time, then we also have trial court documents. And this will include things like motions and other types of things that get filed in a trial. And so again, we can open that up, and you can either browse by the type, or you can browse by the jurisdiction. And then once you get into those categories, then you can go ahead and search here in the search bar. All right, let's go home again. Another way to browse for cases is to actually just go into the jurisdiction that you're interested in. So if you were interested in federal cases, they have kind of a broad section here, or you can look at a specific circuit. If you were interested, let's say, just in the 10th Circuit, where Colorado is, then you could go in and search through there. Another way too is, like, if you're interested in state cases, then go to state materials, click on the state you're interested in. And then here again, you have all the Colorado state and federal cases. So you have your federal cases over here. And so the jurisdictions that oversee Colorado in the federal system, and then you have your state system as well. And then if you scroll down again, you'll see those trial court orders here as well. So that's just another way to get all to the same place. Okay, home one more time. Now let's talk about searching for a case. And so you have your search bar here. You can always select your jurisdiction there to the right of the search by clicking on that. So you can set it to federal or Colorado. You could choose up to 3 jurisdictions at a time. And so you can always, though, filter those out later if you're finding you're getting too many results or what you don't need. After you've selected whatever jurisdiction you're interested in, then go ahead and click on Save. Now, when running a search, you can search by citation, but you could also search by what is known as natural language. So how you would search in a search engine like Google or something else like that. Let me first show you how a citation search would work. So for a citation search, you don't even need the full citation with party names or this or that, just sort of the code that would let the database know where it would be located in a report or in print. And so I'm just going to put one in right now. So 709 P2D 975. And so just to explain what this string means, so 709 is telling me that this is the volume of the court reporter that I'm looking at. Then P2D tells me that this is the Pacific Reporter, second edition. And then 975 is the page number where this case starts. And it's already suggesting the case for me there, but I'll just go ahead and run the search. And now it's brought up that one specific case. And so you can see here, 709 P2D 975. They also have it listed up there. We'll talk a little bit more about the document layout here in a minute, but I want to go back and also now show you how running a natural language search would work. Okay, so now I'm going to put in a string of terms that describes the legal issue I'm interested in. I'm going to put in real estate foreclosure notice, and then I'll hit enter to run the search. And it's bringing up a list of results. One thing to note, you have over here on the left all the different document types that would be available to you. So right now it's defaulting and just showing me cases right away. But if I wanted to look at trial court orders, I could do that there. If I was interested in statutes, I could click through and look at those. If I click on show more, it's also then going to show me things like if I wanted to look at briefs, or the key number hierarchy. So then that way I could find those index terms that relate to this particular set of terms that I've put in. And you also have those trial court documents as well. I'm going to scroll back up though, because we are just interested in cases right now. And actually, one more thing I want to show you here on the left. If you scroll down, you can also now add some additional filters. So I have 170 cases. That's probably more than what I want to look through. But I could, if I had selected multiple jurisdictions, now I could go ahead and weed them out. But even with Colorado, if I just want to see the Supreme Court cases in Colorado, I can narrow it down to that. I can also put a date range on if I'm interested in only the most recent cases or cases from a particular time period. You can also search for a specific judge within the results list, attorneys, law firms, key numbers. So you have a lot of different options here to narrow that results list down. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about are these little flags that we're seeing in front of some of the cases. So here we have a couple examples of cases that have yellow flags, and here is an example of a case with a red flag. And you want to pay attention to these flags. This is a feature that's called KeyCite in Westlaw. And so what KeyCite does is it lets you know if a case has been overturned or challenged by a later case. So this is really important because if you choose a case with a red flag, this is letting me know that this case has been overturned. So this is probably not a good case to use in my arguments. A yellow flag just means that the case, like a point of law in the case, has been challenged. It hasn't necessarily been overturned, but you still want to be very careful with these cases. So I always like to think of the red flag like a stop sign and the yellow flag like a caution sign. Let's take a look though at this red flag case, because I want to show you then how you can figure out what this flag is all about. So here, it's letting me know what case reversed part of it. So you have that there. So you could go and look at that case if you wanted to. But then also along the top here, there are these tabs. And if you go into negative treatment, that is going to tell you what is going on with this flag. So then it gives me the negative history on this case. And so then you can look at those cases if you need to. All right, let me go back to my results list. So let me get back there. I'm just going to use the back arrow to go back. It's going to take me a minute. All right. Okay, so now let's take a look at a case that doesn't have a flag and talk about some of the features in there that can help you with your legal research. So I'm just going to click into this one here. Okay, so a few different things that are going on. So this is telling me which court it's in. So Colorado Court of Appeals, Division 1, the date of the decision, where you could find it in a court reporter. So that would be that citation that we used before to search. If you want to see what the case looks like in print, you can always open up this original image and it'll show you what it would look like in a print book. And then you also have these tabs along the top. And so these can also be helpful. So the document is just the case itself. Filings will show you what documents were filed during the case. So you have some briefs here that could be useful. Negative treatment on this one is not available just because it doesn't have one of those flags. So it wasn't flagged by KeyCite. History on this one is also grayed out, but if it was available, it would show us the path that this case had taken through the courts. So this is an appeals court case. So if it had gone on to the Supreme Court, then the history would show us that case as well. Citing references, this is a very important tab. So if, let's say, this case is really key to what you're looking for, you want to take a look at the citing references because these are going to be cases, other trial court orders, secondary sources, and other things that have cited this particular case. So this can be another way to find other cases that are on point with what you're looking at. And so just to kind of go through how this works. So you have your cases or other documents. So I'll tell you the type of document it is. You can also just filter it if you only wanted to see the other cases that cited this one. And it kind of gives you a sense of the level of treatment that it uses. So these ones actually fully discuss the case. Down here, this one's just citing it. So you get a sense of the level of depth that it relies on the CNC Investments case. If you see this little quotation mark, then that means that this source has actually quoted the case in it somewhere. And this also gives you a sense of the level of depth that it looks at the CNC Investments case. And then we'll talk a little bit more about head notes when we go and actually look through the case. But then the head note is telling me what point of law is it examining from the CNC Investments case. So that can give you a sense of if it's going to be useful for you. So if this point of law matches what you're trying to talk about, then it might be something that you would want to read or use as well. The last tab here is our table of authorities. And so these are cases that came before the CNC Investments case that they are citing or referencing in the case. So this is what the judge has put in the opinion of other references to case law in their decision. And so again, you'll see some of the same features that it kind of gives you a sense of the depth, either by if it's mentioned, examined, cited, and you also have this little thing here to let you know the level of depth, and then if it's specifically quoted and where it's quoted. So that again could lead you to potentially useful things as well. Okay, let's go back to the document. Then another thing to point out here is our document delivery options. And so you see this little envelope icon. If I click the arrow next to it, then I can email, print, or download. So I could email, print, or download this case. I could also go onto any of these tabs and email, print, or download either the list of documents or all of the documents available there. Just one thing to note about our subscription is that it will only let you email, print, or download 20 documents per session. But you can always go up here, sign out, sign back in, and then resume your searching and downloading. Okay. So we already talked a little bit about what is here at the top. So just letting me know where the case is from, about how long it is. We get more information here as well. So we have the party names here. Plaintiff always listed first and defendant listed second. This is the court, the number that the court assigned the case. So that sometimes might be useful or something that might be the only piece of information you have for the case is this. You can always search by that to find this case as well. Then we get into this synopsis. And so the synopsis is written by an editor at Westlaw. It's not an official part of the decision, so you're probably not going to want to cite it in anything, but it does give you just a brief overview of what the case is about. And then the holdings will show you what the court found. So this can just be a great way to quickly get a sense of, is this something that's going to be useful for me? Should I keep reading? Next, we get into this head notes section. So again, the head notes are the points of law that this case discusses, and then it maps those onto those key numbers again. So all of those indexing terms again. So again, you can use these also to find more cases that might be on point for what it is you're trying to do. So it's always good to pay attention to these as well. If there's a particular topic area you're interested in, then you can use these links to find more cases on those topics. And so this has quite a few head notes, so I'm just going to keep scrolling down. Um, and so this was the initial district court decision here that led to this appeals case. Then we have our attorneys and law firms that were involved in the case. And then the opinion starts here. And then it'll tell you which judge wrote the opinion here at the top. Okay, so let's just scroll through this a little bit so I can point out a few more things to you. Wherever you see these green numbers, that's the page number and the print books. So that would be if you're having to cite a section, you'd want to pay attention to the page number. So that's what these green numbers are about. And then if you keep scrolling, anytime a statute, court rule, or another case is cited, they're always going to be hyperlinked. So you can click through and read those if you need to. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you next. Now we have those head note numbers starting to appear. And so this is where you can find where that specific head note or point of law gets discussed in the case. So it makes it really clear where the opinion addresses that particular point of law. And I'll keep scrolling. I just want to see what's at the bottom of this case because sometimes there'll be additional information that might be useful. So a couple of things here. Since it's appeals court case, it's usually heard by more than one judge. So here you can see what the other judges thought. And so they both concur with the opinion written by Judge Schutz. Any citations might be listed there. And then sometimes, not always, you might have footnotes as well. And so that might, explain something that's in the text above, and it may also point you to other cases that are in the decision. Okay, so I think that really covers sort of the basics of how to do case law and then how to use all the features built into Westlaw, like the key numbers, key cite, the head notes, to help you to find additional cases that might be useful for you or, with key cite, what cases to avoid. So I hope this has been useful to you, but if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the library. So thanks for watching.